What's up, guys? Brax's practice. Walking around with Ainsley, divide and conquer tonight, and coming at you with another edition of Unlocking Your Inner Strength. I had an offsite for our Lambertville Estate Senior Home. Got some advice that was well worth. When I invest in something like that, in this case, one of my longtime coaches, Vince, and I get one big thing. Money well invested, and we got some big things. Had a great Mother's Day. A little different, obviously, having a baby again, right? But it was a great day. Had a great cheat day. Working back into that as I continue to get leaner here. So the cheat day, I'll be going over more in the upcoming issue of the newsletter. Most people physically don't need a cheat day. Psychological. But when you get into what's called super compensation mode, you kind of need that. And I know I hit it right this morning at midday because I'm in a dry fast again. And I'm like, man, hunger pangs are revving up. But nonetheless, what I figured I was going to do on this episode is do some Q&A. I got a bunch of questions that people sent in here. I'm just going to start firing away, give you guys my thoughts. Thoughts on bulletproof coffee. So I know Dave Osprey. He's actually one of my books. Interviewed him, that's 12 years ago probably. Cool guy. I think it's good, but what's the point? Like, to me, it's what I call mental masturbation. If you're going to fast, you fast. Like, if you're not going to fast, then that's a great option to do early on, first half of the day. Doing OMAD for almost 2 years, done my blood work, and test has dropped massively. Doc thinks I need a cycle. Yeah, so that's not from the OMAD, that this guy's test is dropping. I don't know how old he is. But yes, definitely get on the test. If you're a guy, 95% of you should be on TRT. Don't try to putz around and do it naturally with supplements. It's not going to work. But I will tell you, I have had some clients going through my protocols that more than any other natural thing have raised their test significantly. But it's still, I like guys to be in that 1100, 1200 range. Panda died for 5 months. Only take magnesium and creatine. What else should I take? I would add zinc in to that protocol. And that's really it. You got to get your vitamin D from the sunlight. It's a good idea to go into a sauna when doing a dry fast. No reason to. Don't make it more extreme than it already is. Right, sauna's great, dry fast. But this is the problem. A lot of people think there's shortcuts. And like if this guy decides to go into a sauna or he's dry fast, and guess what? He's probably never going to dry fast again. He can say, oh, that sucked. I always look at what can you do long term, right? What can you do long term? That's why I'm working on my OWAD protocol so people can implement dry fasting daily. Most people don't want to do a 2 or 3 day dry fast. But it is very effective. But no, I would not recommend going into that. Is it okay to break a 7-day fast with vegetable soup? Yeah, it's a great way to do it. And I would have your fruit ready to go after that. When would someone start losing muscle on a dry fast? Day 4 or 5. So dry fasting is actually very, very protective of muscle. You're going to lose glycogen. It's going to show that your muscle goes down. But I can tell you doing a 3-day dry fast last week, cheat day yesterday, man, my muscles were popping yesterday afternoon. Veins, swelled up. So you don't lose it, right? You don't lose it. It's the glycogen goes down. You're actually going to, if you're looking at muscle loss, you have more when your body's still running off of glucose than straight body fat, right? Because sometimes it could scavenge and maybe look for muscle to turn into glucose. But yeah, actually day 3 on a dry fast is when you enter that protective mode of muscle. Let's see, can you still build muscle at age 55 if you haven't touched your weight in over 25 years? Yes. So guys, let's think of what hypertrophy or putting muscle on is. It's a stress response to applied resistance. So if you give your body a reason to grow, get bigger and stronger, then yes, you can put on muscle. As much as when you were in your 20s, probably not. But also it depends on your hormonal profile. What are you doing? You're doing TRT. You're doing some other stuff. Yeah, you can put on muscle at any age. There was actually an article in the paper, I think back in the fall, with people in their 80s putting on muscle. And that was in a New York Post. When would you recommend dry fasting every day until the evening instead of water fasting? Dry seems easier. Yeah, it's kind of like the OWAD protocol I'm going to be releasing to the world soon. Dry fasting is easier physically. Mentally, a lot of people struggle with it. Just like food, they're addicted to water. It's like their little blankie, their little levy that they need to carry around with them. And I go based off thirst, right? I'm not that thirsty that often. So like, oh, I might as well work with the rhythm of my body. So yeah, you can certainly do that for sure. Let's see. Next question. What do you like to do when you start feeling burnt out? Exercise, work, etc. Me, I like old movies. I like sitting outside, sitting near water. Those are the main things, you know, if I feel burnt out, just stillness. Be still and know that I am, according to the Bible. Stillness is underrated. So I could just sit near the creek in the backyard, could sit in the hammock and recharge pretty quickly, for sure. What practices do you suggest when you're deep into your fast and your mind tries to sabotage your goal? So this is like next level self-awareness. Once I make the decision what I train my students and clients, that's it, right? There's no sabotage, because that means you didn't make the decision. Okay, that's not black or white. I teach black or white. Make the decision and you remember that. If I say I'm dry fasting, I'm dry fasting. That's it. There's nothing else to it. So you got to get to that point, right? And then if you need to, be still, breathe. Why are you doing this? Go back to why you're doing it. If you don't know why you're doing it, you shouldn't be doing it. Anything, right? Get clear on why you're doing it to start out. Next question. Let's see, Ainsley, what we got here? Looking into getting on TRT due to test being so low. What range is your test at? Dude, I keep mine above 1,200. A lot of times I'll test above 1,500. Me and my brothers are all good responders to testosterone. We don't need a lot to really boost that number up. You know, in free, I believe you want 2 to 4% of total. But I like men at upper limit normal. 1,000 to 1,200 I think is a great range. How long do I feast for? Usually it's 90 minutes. I take my time. You go beyond that, unless it's a social event, you're not doing something right? Or you're just trying to open that window a little too much. Did OMAD in a 48-hour fast in 1 week and gained a pound. How? So it looks like this is a lady. Yeah, it's a lady. So women can, just like men, build up a lot of insulin resistance. She probably stocked glycogen. I would like to see where her muscle was at afterwards. So you got to look at body composition, take waist measurements. Don't just use the scale. Can you take creatine during a fast? Of course, you can. I don't want to build muscle because I'm still over 15% body fat. Can I do cycling and rowing while fasting? Yes, but I would still hit the weights, right? This is the thing most people don't get. It's hard to put on muscle. Like people say, I don't want to put on muscle. Like it's an easy thing to do. Still train with the weights, right? Get the heart rate up. The best way to get your heart rate up is head to toe weight training. Nothing even comes close to that. Peripheral heart action. Do you recommend fasting under the age of 18? Yeah, if I knew this back then, I would be doing it, but depends on the person and the goal. But totally safe. How do you break your 72-hour dry? Same feast as water fast? Also, do you train in the same on a 72 dry? No, I don't train the same. Well, I backload the week with my weight training. But I do my walks, I do my sprints, do my calisthenics, do my pump reps every day with biceps, shoulders, push-ups, core. I break it the same. But if you haven't done one yet, then yes, I would break with chicken stock, little cranberry juice, chill out. Like when I break a long dry fast, my mouth and mucosa, everything hurts for like 15, 20 minutes. So, yeah, but the concept is the same. Sugar-free gum chewing during dry fast. No, I would not do that. Let's see. What do you think about a 6-year-old doing weight training, BJJ, the same day? I think it's great. I know 6-year-olds that do that. I go jiu-jitsu with. I think it's great. Just keep an eye on your recovery for sure. How to lose water weight. Drink more water. Water is the greatest diuretic. A lot of times, and I don't know why somebody would want to lose water weight intentionally. It is part of the fat loss process because of the glycogen. But a lot of times when people are retaining water, they might not be taking in enough sodium, so your body retains sodium. Water follows sodium. It's going to hold on to it. So with bodybuilding, I would do like a water taper, cut it down, right, in a short period of time. And then day of, I'd bring the water back up, right, flush out any of the water I felt like I was still potentially holding on to. But I think that was more from a dry fasting effect, as I was talking about last week in one of my videos. You know, I don't think it's necessarily manipulating water. Yeah, but water weight, if that's really an issue, you got to drink more water and make sure your sodium's up. Now, if you increase sodium, you haven't been doing that, you're going to retain for a little while. Why do you recommend plant-based? I don't recommend plant-based necessarily. I just don't think you need nearly as much protein as we've been told. And especially if you're trying to keep your fat super low, which is part of what I'm currently doing with my protocol. Well, guess where the fat comes from, guys? A good amount of it is coming from your animal protein. And amino acids, it makes your body more acidic. So on an average week, I'm probably, I always tell people eating between 300 and 400 grams of protein on a week. Right? Now there's days when I do vegetarian, not because I'm becoming vegetarian, just because I find that everything runs smoothly. Digestion is like perfect on vegetarian. Notice your craps, when you do vegetarian for a day or two versus when you eat a bunch of protein. That freaking stink from the protein, guys, to me, does not signify health. I just kind of listen to my body. And I was talking about that way before these other guys are now talking about it with the high sugar diet. I mean, you go back to the Panda book, I wrote that, I released that in 2020. I was talking about that stuff. But that's what happens. I'm always ahead of the curve, guys, not to toot my own horn. If you want to know what's coming or what really works, just follow what I do. If you're sick with a cold, sinus infection, should you still fast? Absolutely. That's the definite time you should be fasting. But that's really where you can implement dry fasting. Bacteria, viruses, besides there's a few viruses. And viruses is a whole weird thing in itself anyway. It's more of a theory, the germ theory. But they need water to live. But any animal, when it's sick or injured, like when Bear just had a surgery, our lab puppy, black lab puppy, he didn't want to eat that night. Very unusual for him in a lab. But let the body heal. OMAD for 6 months, 4 strength training a week. Want to gain muscles. Can I do a 40 at 72? Oh yeah. My muscles as high as it's ever been. I've been eating 6 meals a week on average, slightly less for the past 6 years now. You could definitely do it. Putting muscle on comes on to your training. But again, I'm going to keep harping on that because most people just don't train hard enough to put on muscle. That's the reality of it. It's not about what you eat. That is so far secondary. Just like counting calories is so far secondary or tertiary to losing weight. But yet, this is what people still talk about and do. Just and I get it because it's been burned into the brain. So, yeah, you can put on muscle. So that's going to be it for this one, guys. I'm going to keep walking with Ainsley. I got ripped ads. First time running the Panda Challenge ripped ads online, starting the day after Father's Day. Keep an eye out for that. Got some really cool stuff I'm putting together for that. Some really level up all you fathers out there. Not just getting in great shape, but many other things with your relationships, mindset. So keep a lookout for that. As always, share this with somebody. Hit the like button. Subscribe. All that good stuff. This month's newsletter is all about dry fasting. Going to touch on the cheat days. And then I'll probably expand on that in an upcoming issue beyond that. It's $49 a month if you want to get on the list. It gets mailed to your house. I send it out at the end of the month, and it's far more valuable than $49 a month, the stuff I talk about. Just let me know. Thanks for the support, guys. Catch you later.